Alright, adventurers, we're going to be taking a closer in-depth look at the official trailer for the upcoming Biohazard 3 remake that was unceremoniously dropped on us by Capcom themselves for December 2019 State of Play. And right off the bat, we're actually greeted with what appears to be a first-person view perspective as opposed to the over-the-shoulder perspective of the Biohazard 2 remake. The first-person perspective was first used in the uh, onset of Biohazard 7. So it's interesting that they're going with this. And that was a very terrifying sight. I'll see if I can actually get back to that. But yeah, there he is. I refer to him as a heavily trench-coated man. I believe that I was referring to Mr. X, the fedora-wearing tyrant, the T-00 that hunts Claire and Leon in the Raccoon Police Department precinct. But lo and behold, that is not Mr. X. That is in fact a even more terrifying experimental tyrant weapon known colloquially as Nemesis, and he is a force to be reckoned with. He will hunt you wherever you go. Case in point. Now, I originally assumed that this was going to be a showcase for Project Resistance, and using the barricade there to block the door. We are still in the city. And Nemesis is having none of it. Now, he takes that swing there with his right hand, but if I actually go back, he was actually about to say something there. So if I replay that again. No, hold on. Let me just go back and you will hear a slight sound clip there. It's more noticeable if you're actually wearing headphones, so. Yeah, I believe he was about to say stars before he swung there with his fist.
Jill, over here!
Now we have our first real look at Jill Valentine's redesign, and I do like it. Of course, she's wearing more practical casual clothing as opposed to the outfit that she originally wore in Biohazard 3. Can't really tell from the detail here, but I'm guessing her eyes are still blue. They were originally blue in the original Biohazard 3, and they've been blue for other Biohazard titles that she's been in. So I'm hoping they're consistent with that.
What the hell? How could this many people be infected?
Yeah, we're not just confined to the Raccoon Police Department anymore. We have the entirety of Raccoon City to deal with this time. Nearly 100,000 souls, all infected by the T-virus.
The city is completely cut off, isolated.
And I just cut him off there. Behold, ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Mikhail Victor of the Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service, or UBCS. And he has definitely seen better days.
Isolated.
Don't look at me like that, alright? I'm not infected.
I believe that was the voice of Todd Habercorn as a UBCS soldier.
But right now it's got a hard on for the only 2 stars left in town.
And there is a very familiar face indeed. Mr. Brad Vickers, known rather humorously in the Stars organization as Chicken Heart, A for his yellow vest that he's seen wearing there, and B for the fact that he is, like anyone else, he is a aversion to dying. In fact, Brad Vickers can very well be described as a complete coward. After all, he was the helicopter pilot for the Stars Alpha team who abandoned them during the mansion incident. But at the end, he did come back with the rocket launcher necessary to defeat the T-002 Tyrant. Unfortunately, he should have gotten out of Raccoon City as soon as he could, but it seems that he's actually decided to stay and help out with the evacuation, which shows he's got a bit more courage this time round than his reputation would suggest. And here he's also actually warning warning Jill about Nemesis, because Brad unfortunately is the first Stars member to be in Nemesis's sight.
In town.
We don't need a bleeding heart like you getting in the way.
And we get a brief shot of Tyrell here, this guy here, from also involved with the UBCS, but we also got a glimpse of this man, Nikolai Zinoviev, who is also a UBCS operative. He's Russian, he still has grey hair, and true to character, he is a consummate mercenary, always looking out for his own interests. And there's our actual look at Carlos Oliveira's redesign, and I'm glad they're actually going with this. Believe it or not, Carlos is actually supposed to be 21 in Biohazard 3, whereas Jill is 2 years older than him.
Star's office has to be in this direction.
And it appears that, true to form, we'll actually be revisiting the RPD precinct in some fashion after all.
It gets worse every night.
And just go back and have a look at this. I'm guessing that this is either Jill's apartment or one of Jill's makeshift apartments that she's using as a refuge in this horrific ordeal.
It's worse every night.
They don't want the world to know what they've done.
No, they do not. They, of course, being the infamous Umbrella Corporation responsible for creating the T-virus in the first place and causing the Raccoon City outbreak on the evening of the 22nd of September. Now, unlike Claire Redfield and Leon Kennedy, who both arrived together on the 29th of September, Jill Valentine has been in Raccoon City as the outbreak has unfolded for at least 3 or so days, trying to help everyone evacuating. So for those people who wondered why Jill Valentine didn't just abandon the city to its fate, the answer is she could have, but she is a Stars police operative, and so it is her sworn duty to protect and serve the citizens of Raccoon City. And speaking of which, it looks like Jill isn't the only one who has been piecing together Umbrella's activities over the course of the outbreak.
They've done.
Oh, my head.
What's wrong with Umbrella?
I can't stop them all!
Now, at the beginning we saw a first-person perspective, but here it looks like we've actually gone back to the over-the-shoulder perspective and from the previous remake. I'm guessing that when you're out in the city that it's a over-the-shoulder perspective because after all it is a sprawling metropolis. But I'm guessing that whenever Jill goes into a corridor or something, it goes into first person. Either that or they're actually allowing you the choice of doing this either in first person or in third person. It'll be interesting if that's the case.
Can't stop them all!
You gotta get out of there!
You guys are the ones who caused all of this!
No, wait!
Oh, come on.
And there was a lot going on in those few seconds. There's Nikolai again, smiling rather ominously. Yeah. A trained mercenary he may be, but I don't necessarily trust his motives, and nor should you. But there's the tram in the middle of the city streets there. But most importantly, we got a glimpse of something rather foreboding. See if I can get back to it. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the hunters are back. That is a hunter beta, as opposed to the hunter alphas that were present during the events of the mansion incident. Hunters are reptilian bioorganic weapons with sharp claws that, in my opinion, are even more devastating than lickers. Now, lickers are terrifying in the Biohazard 2 remake. I can attest to that. But hunters are even more deadly. Hunters are to lickers what Nemesis is to the Tyrant, in my personal opinion. Because hunters can decapitate you with those sharp claws. And they're one-hit kill shenanigans. Yeah, they're back with a vengeance.
We've gotta be dreaming.
And believe it or not, Jill actually is... Now, the interesting thing, well, the thing that I found peculiarly interesting, let's just say, is the fact that most people who remember Jill Valentine from Biohazard 3 and the other games slash spin-offs, for example, they all see Jill Valentine as this tough veteran, this police officer badass who has survived one viral infection and so should be incredibly prepared to survive another, should worst come to worst, which it has. But that being said, Jill Valentine is a human being. She has real emotions, and she is not incapable of suffering from her own personal trauma, which is what she's actually going through in the events of Biohazard 3. Her original indifference to the fate of Raccoon City is actually marred by the fact that she's more affected by this tragedy than first appearances. And this is actually something that is made even more apparent in the S.D. Perry novelization of Biohazard 3, which I felt was a very good touch, and it really characterizes Jill Valentine as a person.
Commitment, honesty, integrity, these are the core values that create the foundation for Umbrella.
Lies, lies, commitment, honesty, and integrity, the core values of the Umbrella Corporation. One word, good sir. Bullshit. And I tried to pause it there and I completely failed. But yeah, that is Nemesis's bioorganic weapon um, container there. Yeah, he's back. Of course he is, because this is his story after all, and we are the ones on his hit list. Just let that play again. And looks like true to form, they are actually going with they are actually intending to go with the imagery that they used on the leaked cover art of Biohazard 3. You can see a close-up of his one remaining eye, and yeah, he does have the crooked nose. But then again, I do like his redesign. I think it is truly grotesque and terrifying. Maximilian Dood referred to it as being Lovecraftian, which is a good appellation for Nemesis. To put it into perspective, if Mr. X is a menacing thug wearing a trench coat and a fedora that hunts you down and tries to get rid of you because that's what Umbrella wanted it to do, Nemesis is a nightmare made real, which is also a good description of Biohazard 3 in general. Apparently, Biohazard Resistance is an online game, and I thought that that's what they were going to be showcasing in this particular trailer, and boy was I wrong. And there's the pre-order. Pre-order to get the Resident Evil 3 or Biohazard 3 classic costume pack, as they were portrayed in the original Biohazard 3. Now, I do like Carlos's redesign. I think it actually works for the remake. You can use his original appearance if you want, but that being said, I actually do like the fact that they've included Jill's original attire. A lot of people think it's impractical, and that's almost certainly the truth, but it actually suits her. They've actually got the design right, and I think part of me wishes that this costume, this outfit here, it is her default attire, but I understand that they wanted to give her a fresh look, as they did with Claire Redfield in the Biohazard 2 remake. So that was my in-depth analysis so far into the Biohazard 3 official trailer. And we're probably going to hear more about this as April draws nearer. As always, I'm your host, the Dungeon Master. Until next we meet, adventurers.